to market in Kansas. In 1867, Sam Johnson married Eliza Bunton. They built a house on the banks of the Pedernales River in Stonewall, Texas, about 12 miles from Johnson City. Their son, Sam Ely Jr., would later bring his wife, Rebecca Baines, to live in this same house. It was here that their son, Lyndon, was born. Lyndon Baines Johnson would become the President of the United States.
He had his roots down here. He began here.
So we went to school down here at Junction, and then we went to Stonewall, and at Albert, and then they moved to Johnson City.
To understand life at that time in Johnson City is to understand the difference between then and now.
Because we had no conveniences, no electricity, no gas, cooked on wood stoves, had no refrigeration. Everybody had a cow.
When you get up in the morning and build a fire and the wood stove and wait for the house to get warm, when you wash over a scrub board and you iron with an iron that's heated on coals, that's a different kind of life.
Ms. Johnson was more on the literary side.
She spoke with precision, but with a softness about it, which you had great admiration for. You just knew she was filled with culture and talent.
She taught what we called elocution.
There was a mirror on the wall, and she sat in a chair on the opposite side of the room. Her students sat on the wood box that joins the fireplace that's there today.
He didn't have money, but nobody did. He had a mother who valued education, a father who was stern.
His father and his grandfather were both members of the Texas legislature.
I think Mr. Johnson had a feeling of government as personal to people. Government is not an alien force, it's something that can be intimate in the lives of people.
That's sort of his steel from his father and his humanity from his mother.
Lyndon graduated from high school in Johnson City, and after a brief trip to California and a job on a highway construction crew, he entered Southwest Texas State Teachers College in San Marcos, Texas. His first teaching job was in Cotulla, Texas.
They were called Mexican schools. And they went to one school, and the Anglos went to another.
They lived in shacks, unpainted wooden shacks, with dirt floors, many of them. No running water, of course.
Lyndon's next assignment took him to Houston, Texas, where he was the debate coach at Sam Houston High School. Opportunity intervened, and he was offered a job in Washington as secretary to Congressman Richard Kleberg. The school newspaper proclaimed, "Students and faculty expect to hear of many worthwhile accomplishments of Mr. Johnson in the field of politics, which he is now entering."
He was terribly excited about the wonders of Washington. His enthusiasm was absolutely contagious. And we'd be in the office early, 7 or 8, and work all day, knock off a little while, and then go back and work till midnight. This went on day in and day out.
I think the Depression made a great impression on him. People starving and moving. It was a tough time.
Lyndon wanted to help. To him, it's shocking that in a rich country that the government couldn't help.
In 1934, Lady Bird Taylor would enter his life.
He began to tell me all about his job, his family. It was not more than 24 hours after we met, I think, that he asked me to marry him. It was about 2.5 months, most of which time we were 1,600 miles apart, and with the letter every day.
One letter, written shortly before they were married, read,
"Lyndon, please tell me as soon as you can what the deal is. I'm afraid it's politics. Oh, I know I haven't any business, not any proprietary interest, but I would hate for you to go into politics."
The marriage would be dominated by politics for the next 37 years. Lyndon was appointed Texas Director of the National Youth Administration by President Franklin Roosevelt. The program put 30,000 young Texans to work during the next 2 years. After the death of Congressman Buchanan, Lyndon decided to run for Congress in the 10th District in Texas. He announced his candidacy from his parents' front porch.
This first campaign was one of the many that he wasn't actually supposed to win, but I must say nobody matched the hours that he spent.
But he just out-campaigned. That was all.
When he went into the House in '37, the first big battles of his congressional years were in rural electrification and in building a series of dams on the lower Colorado River. Those dams meant cheap power, flood control, some irrigation.
The biggest motivation of all was the opportunity of getting electric power to farm homes.
Of all the things that can change a woman's life, I think electricity is more important than anything else. Her life was changed.
This was a guy that was really going places.
I think he was pretty much always heading for the Senate. That 41 race, and it's just about my favorite race still, although we lost it. But it was a glorious race.